I am fantasy and paranormal romance author Leslye Penelope, and welcome to My Imaginary Friends, a look behind the scenes of an author mapping the worlds in my head and making them a reality. Hello, friends. Today is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, and this is a very special edition of the My Imaginary Friends podcast. I am Leslye. Let's call this episode 257 just for continuity in the numbering. I am recording from an undisclosed alternate location than my normal setup because I'm recording from VirtuousCon. I'm in the virtual world. As a reminder, you can sign up for the Footnotes newsletter, which gives you show notes for each episode, as well as inspiration, strategies, and ideas for you to grow as a writer and as a creative. And that is at myimaginaryfriends.net/footnotes. When you sign up, you can become an imaginary best friend for a few dollars a month and get access to premium posts, long-form craft essays, discounts on my courses and coaching and other great stuff. I hope to see you there. This week's best thing has been VirtuousCon. So I've done this ever since it started. I think I've been a panelist every year that they've had it. I've taught master classes for them, and this past weekend I was on 3 panels, and they were fantastic panels. I was on with some other amazing writers and artists and creative people, and we had really good discussions, really good moderation. It's top quality. I'm going to give kudos to my very good friend, Cerise Rennie Murphy, whose brainchild VirtuousCon is. I have known her for many years. She's in my mastermind. We hold an in-person retreat together, the Ink and Magic retreat. If you are a published writer or a writer who has completed a manuscript, then we are having a mastermind retreat in September over Labor Day weekend. You can go to inkandmagicretreat.com. We're going to open the application soon. So Cerise is doing amazing things. We're all busy, but just kudos for her for putting together this event, like from her brain to reality for many years, like the past, 5 years. It started during COVID. That's why it's all virtual. And I've enjoyed every session that I've been on and every event that I've been a part of. So welcome to those showing up live. Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to see you here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of my takeaways from the panels and also what I've been up to. So I have a book coming out in August, The Inevitable Undoing of Zahara Douglas, which I finished proofreading last week. So it's the 11th millionth time that I've read this book, reading it again carefully, paying attention to the formatting because the proofreading stage is where I get to see it laid out in the font, in the typefaces that it's going to be in for the whole, for the book. I also, right before, so again, I'm not at home right now. Right before I left, I got my ARCs for Zahara Douglas. I'm going to do a video when I get back and show everybody and maybe do a giveaway for ARCs. So if you're not on my newsletter, go to lpenelope.com and you will see a newsletter at the bottom of every page. It's also in the menu under Get a Free Short Story. Sign up. I'm doing giveaways for the ARC. I know that I've gotten lots of inquiries about the ARC of that book. There seems to be some excitement, which is super exciting for me. And I've been writing a little bit. So whenever, writing the new thing always has to take a backseat a little bit to the book that you have been contracted and paid for. And so I had to stop my working on draft 2 of my next book to work on proofreads. But now that that's all turned in, I'm back to drafting my Blitches, which is Black Witches. I'm calling it kind of Blitches University, so it's my magical HBCU Black Witch story. And I think I have about 5,000 words of draft 2. So I did write the first draft as a script. If you are a podcast listener, you will know this. And now I'm doing it in prose. So it's the second draft, but it's the first time I'm writing out everything in prose. But the first 5,000 words or so, I absolutely adore. And I've been going over them and over them again with like a fine-toothed comb, which is not how I usually do my drafting. But this is a different process since I'm going from script to book instead of dirty first draft to cleaner first draft. So it's kind of an experiment. I'm not under contract right now. I will sell this book after I've written it, which is good and bad. Like often I've sold the last few books on proposal, but this one, my agent was like, yeah, you should really write the whole thing out. And, that puts off the contracting portion of it, but it allows me to make sure that this book is really good and done before it's due or before I have any kind of deadline, which is very freeing for me. And I'm really enjoying that as well. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to. I've been on a couple of podcasts, and those were wonderful. And I will talk more about those and put them in the show notes. But this VirtuousCon, so the first panel that I was on was about using AI for productivity. And that's a really touchy issue because there's so many artists and authors and so many people in the book community that are extremely anti-AI. And I get it. I understand if the Anthropic thing goes through and we actually make money. So the Anthropic lawsuit, where they stole books from us, they took and trained their AI on our books without our consent or without paying for them by pirating them. I've got, I think, 5 or 6 books in there. And so if that goes through and they're saying $3,000 a book, which I highly doubt, I will get paid something for them. But I didn't, would I have consented? I don't know. I don't have the choice. I can't go back in time. There are people who are like, yeah, I want AI to know my books. And I see that because if you're not, if they don't see your books and they don't know about you, and the number one search engine, I believe, is still Google. I think the number two is now ChatGPT, number two or three. So really, if we want to be found, we have to have AI knowing about us and knowing our books. And if they haven't read them, then will they be able to recommend them? I mean, they can from other forms, but no, I didn't give my approval by consent. I don't like that they pirated my book, but I do want to be found by AI, especially if it's on the top three search engines where people are going to be finding books they want to read. I have a friend who was looking for a book this weekend and it was like, oh, let me just ask Claude. And they put in the types of books they like, the genres, and Claude spit out some answers. If someone says, hey, I want a book that is, Black historical fantasy, I need to be coming up there. So that's one thing. But the panel was really about using it for productivity. And so, yeah, I I've talked about it before on my podcast, which I feel is a safe space. Like you opt in, you choose to be here. And people have probably opted out a long time ago if they were totally offended by any sort of AI usage, which, is their prerogative. It's totally their right. But I also feel like I don't like to say that we'll be left behind because that seems like a framing that is very negative. But I'm a tech person. I'm a web developer. I love tech gadgets. I'm coding. So I want to at least know about it and see how it can be useful and see, is it overhyped? Is it living up to the promises? In my experience, there's things that I use it for that I talked about on the panel. It's very helpful for things, and other things I'm less excited about, like the agentic stuff, agentic use, where it will be your personal assistant and buy your plane tickets and buy your groceries. And I'm like, I'm not ready for that yet. But to use it as a research assistant, to use it as a brainstorming assistant, to bounce ideas off of, to draft email subject lines or like businessy things, marketing things, hooks, the list of things that I have found it to be helpful for is extensive. Keeping in mind the downsides, keeping in mind that it is actually very racist. Like when I use it to generate images for my blog posts, if I don't specify I want a black person, it's going to default to white. You know, there's plenty of other instances of the downsides, the racism, the environmental impacts are definitely concerning. Um, but on the panel, Tim Fielder, who was another panelist, who's an artist and writer and filmmaker and animator, I believe, was talking about like using cars and I heat and air condition my home. And sometimes when people r- go back at you on a criticism with like a what about? Well, what about cars? What about air conditioning? What about this? It doesn't feel good. It's like, yeah, all those things take up a lot of energy and electricity and natural resources, and they're killing our planet. AI is another one of those things. And I don't discount that. I'm not one of those people who's going to say, don't worry about that. But in my research, I've seen that like the AI companies know that they're drawing resources and water and power. And can AI be used to solve some of these problems? Can AI in a few years help solve climate change, help create actual real solutions that maybe don't have to rely on the government and the Paris Accords or whatever that we've pulled out of? Can it be used? Can it use a lot of energy now to solve these problems in 5, 10 years? That's it's possible. There's a decent likelihood, and there's other mitigating steps being taken. So, we all have to weigh what we're comfortable with in this world, where we're comfortable shopping. I'm trying to shop much less at Amazon. I'm reducing my Amazon reliance by like 85, 90%. Occasionally, I will still buy from them. And, but then where am I going? Any other big store, like it's not like a mom and pop, has their own issues. Like I stopped shopping at Target last year. Never looked back, never been in a Target since the beginning of January, but I'm not going to Walmart necessarily. I don't enjoy going to Walmart. I will say that. My cousin had a text about taking my aunt to Walmart and all the Walmartians, and I had never heard the term Walmartians before, and I chuckled at that. That was kind of hilarious to me. Anyway, my point is we are making choices about the corporate entities that we support and our impact and the choices that we make. And so each of us has to make the choice that we're comfortable with. And it would be great if people acknowledged that a little bit more and weren't so virulent about other people's choices. But that's a journey that I think we're all on. So that was a really good conversation. My very good friend Inez Johnson was part of that AI panel as well. And she has been using it in similar ways to me and different, and she is in contact with a lot of other authors who are using it for all kinds of very deep marketing, market research. There's lots of ideas and there's lots of people who are, if you're interested in these conversations, they're not always being had in public because of the backlash. So it's worthwhile to find people, reach out to people who are talking about it, find other places, communities where you can learn more about it if you're interested in it, and really learn about it to see, is it something that you want to use? If so, how? And if it's not, that's okay too. And then yesterday afternoon, we had a conversation about awards. Um, with Audrey Williams, who is, I think, the chair, or she's involved in the World Fantasy Convention, which I'm planning on going to this year because it's in Oakland, and I love Oakland. I lived there for a couple of years. I went to grad school in the Bay Area, and any excuse I can get to go to the Bay Area is one that I will take. So I'm looking forward to that. And that also became a really great conversation because I was with, an illustrious panel, Eden Royce, Tananarive Due, P. Djeli Clark. It was fabulous. And to talk not just about the process of awards, how they work, which is still kind of a black box to most of us, but what it means, and really digging deeper into the thing that I'm most interested in, which is success. So I mentioned this on the panel, my interview series on success, because I was really, for me, just trying to answer the question, what what's next? Like, what is making it? I have a certain level of success. I've worked very hard. I've been lucky. I've met really interesting people who have given me opportunities. I've had great opportunities all the way back to who my parents were, where I was born. My mom was a teacher. She taught me to read when I was 3, like my grandparents were educators. My grandfather was a college professor. So there's reasons, I think, for different people getting to different places, and I don't discount my innate privilege of having, college-educated middle-class parents and who were able to give me certain tools, and then me working hard and trying to achieve certain things, and everybody's coming from a different place. Um, and so awards are kind of one of those things. There's a lot of things that people don't talk about when it comes to success. And so my interview series, interviewing people who are considered to be successful authors and talking to them about what that means to them and where do they go from here, And so having that awards conversation kind of brought up some of those things that I'm really fascinated in. I haven't done an interview in a while, and I've been thinking about, starting that up again, maybe with a slightly different focus. But I was able to talk to really I talked to half of the people who were on my panel yesterday about this, interviewing them, and I got a really good perspective. My favorite interview was probably Beverly Jenkins, the iconic Black romance author, Ms. Bev, as she is known, and, you know, who has touched so many lives. And if you see her at an event, there is a line around the corner My cousin gave me a box full of Beverly Jenkins books. She had she had bought and read every book, and she was like, "Here," passing the torch down. And, that is someone who's had a huge impact with her writing. She's never hit the New York Times. She's never had a major award. Uh, I'm not sure if she's hit USA Today bestseller list, like, but she is beloved and she has had such an impact. And it all goes back to your goals. Like having an impact is important to me, and having an impact on readers and being part of the conversation is really important to me. And we all craft our own definitions of success. Awards are amazing, bestseller lists are amazing, TV, film adaptations, all amazing. But one of the points I was trying to make is that even when you get those things and you look around, you're like, okay, what's next? Because that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the conversation. You get all the awards. You hit New York Times bestseller list. You get the film or TV adaptation. And then what is next? You keep writing. What were your goals then? And if you never hit any of those things, can you still be successful? So being, grounded, grateful, um, with where you are right now, and knowing that if you're not grounded and grateful now, you never will be, no matter how much you achieve, no matter how many accolades or milestones you achieve. And that is something that is a lesson that I have learned and incorporated and have to continually remind myself of because it is difficult to. There's a lot of comparison in the author world and publishing. And I think all arts are like this, probably all fields, all vocations are like this. You see someone who is a little bit further up the road than you are, and you're like, "Oh, I wanna be there." And you get there, and then you wanna be somewhere else. Maybe it's just humanity and the human condition, and we are all on this journey of trying to figure out what we're doing, why we're here, what our purpose is. The other thing I loved about Ms. Bev's interview is she's writing with purpose. Her success to her is she's met it because she sees, she's very purpose driven with her writing and what she's doing. And as long as she can go back to that, then she knows what she's here for. And that was incredibly inspiring for me and something I've really taken away from that and hope to keep in my writing life. Okay, so that was it. Oh, and then of course this morning I had a great conversation with what was the topic this morning? It was Keisha from the Blurred Library, who was a wonderful moderator, talking about resistance, writing and resistance. And it was with one of my good friends, Nicole Glover, who's a fabulous author. And I saw her a few weeks ago for her book launch and got to do a bookstore event with her. And then Fenderson Clark again, who I love and I love his books. And we had a really good conversation too. Got deep about the role of writing and resistance and historical fiction and fantasy and um, yeah, just a lot of good insights. So if anyone's watching this who wasn't there, watch the replay. I'm pretty sure they're available afterwards at some point. And if you join the VirtuousCon Patreon, you can get all the replays too. So it's been a wonderful con, and even the virtual events, I don't often take advantage of them as much as I should, but I did pop into other panels and events. There was a short film that was shown yesterday. It was so moving and powerful. And as we wrap up, I want to express gratitude and um, getting a chance to talk to other writers is always wonderful. Hearing their perspectives, getting to see people that I either see online or sometimes once or twice a year at events is nice too, and new people that I hadn't done events with. And I feel more energized, and so I'm ready to go back this week and get back into my second draft of my Blitch University story and hopefully get that moving, get a lot of good momentum going. Getting back into the writing is still a little frightening. It's a little bit daunting, but that's what we're here for, right? That's what I do. If I'm not writing, I'm not quite ever feeling like solid, like I need to be writing or plotting or planning and brainstorming, all of that stuff. And also thinking about what's next after this. I do have ideas. I don't have time enough in the day for all of the ideas. So that's another reason. Get writing, finish this project so I can move on to the next and the next ideas. That is probably it for me. My voice is starting to go, getting tired. So I will See you all the next time. If you are still at this con, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the time here where it's only a little bit left. And for episode show notes and to sign up for the Footnotes newsletter and get the show notes in your inbox, you can go to myimaginaryfriends.net, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, watch the video episodes on YouTube, and you can email me at podcast@lpenelope.com. Happy reading and happy writing, everyone. And I hope that you're enjoying your time. Take care.